Welcome. Today we're going to talk about all about grills because yes, I love grilling, I love eating, I love cooking, and hopefully we can share some insight. Regardless of where you are in this journey, I'd really recommend download that resource guide. You're going to see there's a lot of links that we have in that guide that talks about what grills to buy, the pros and cons, how to clean a grill, a lot of useful information just baked in that resource guide alone. But we're going to take your questions. So let us know your thoughts because, look, I'm a little biased. I'm going to really lean heavy on one specific type of grill, but just take it with a grain of salt because there's a benefit regardless of what grill you're using, what cooking method you're using. Just look at what matters for you most. All right, so with that being said, let's look at today's overview. We're going to discuss a few important items when you're getting ready for the grilling season. And spoiler alert, I've got a brisket that I smoked in my pellet smoker last night. So I've got this ready. I'll probably see if I have time. I'll show it to y'all so you can see that you too can be a grill master soon. All right, we're going to talk about selecting the correct grill types, grill fuel sources. And then once we get that lay of the land, we're going to dive into what can make the grilling process a little easier, a little more effective, depending on what you want to accomplish. So we're going to focus on accessories. We're going to focus on different tools to help make this a safe and effective process. And then last but not least, whatever grilling you have, whatever grill grades you go with, making sure that you really understand what's the best way, most effective ways to clean and maintain that grill so you get the best value out of it. All right, this is how we're going to do it. This is our DIY today with this awesome, really hungry workshop. All right, y'all, I'm hungry for information, and I hope y'all are too, because choosing a grill is going to be that process where you just answer a few questions. And similar to how we address a lot of our workshops, we say, ask yourself some considerations, questions, so you see what's motivating your purchase decision, or if you're in a state that you have to either repair what you currently have, because guess what? You can do that too. It just depends on how much time and how much money that repair will cost. But think about this. Is this going to be your first introduction into the grilling space, or are you looking to upgrade your grill? Think about, are you looking for something that's quick and convenient, or do you really want to get to that place where you're impressing folks when you're hosting family, friends for any type of grilling event? Are you looking to cook for a large group or a small group? What's going to be the consistency of that? That'll dictate what you need to get in terms of size. And simply, what types of foods are you going to cook? All right, some might be a little better suited for smoking meats, where others will be a little better with versatility. Again, a little important fact right there. Or are you looking to get something that's going to be more portable so you can bring it to tailgating events or to other friends and families' homes? Again, that's another consideration. All in all, you're asking these questions and you're trying to find out what's going to be the best fit for your needs. And obviously, you can have multiple grills. There's even combination grills that you can kind of marry the best of both worlds for a few of the grill types we're going to talk about in a little bit. Point in case, you're shopping around, use the resource guide. That resource guide gives you a buying guide on how to determine what's going to benefit you. Because you'll see, you can easily get into a really high cost, depending on the type of grill you go with. And the value will be there. But again, this is going to be something that can go from as simple as like $50 and lower to quickly getting in the hundreds and thousands of dollars if you're going with certain types of grills. So typically, most people's first introduction to the grilling space is in the form of charcoal grills. And when we look at charcoal grills, it's that traditional wood smoked flavor. That's what charcoal is. It's petrified wood. And that allows for a couple things when you're cooking with this type of grill: indirect and direct heat. You can go slow, you can do quick cooking methods, all a matter of how you're prepping and getting that charcoal heat source kind of combined. So there's a lot of complexities here that can lend itself to a lot of versatility. And this is, again, simply the initial way to get into the grilling space. All right, we've got portable models, we've got bigger models, we've got combinations with charcoal grills as well. But here's what I want you to look for in a charcoal grill. If you're going simple, look for sturdiness in that construction. something that's going to last many seasons. It can be a lower price point, but again, look for that sturdiness. All right, and then you're going to look at what additional features you want. If you're looking at the lid that you see right there, it's got to be solid, heavy grade material. Sometimes they'll have a porcelain finish, all right, and that can be cleaned easily to resist corrosion. Just think about, again, what do I need to do to clean that out? Because you'll see charcoal is great flavor, hands down. It's one of my favorite flavor profiles. But the ash buildup from charcoal is something you have to keep up and make sure that you're disposing of it properly. And timing is also really important. When we're looking at charcoal grills, there's some different subsets. You might see in the store, might go to Home Depot, and you'll see different types of charcoal available. You'll have things like briquettes, and these are really inexpensive. They provide great even heat. They burn for a long time compared to natural charcoal. And so this is something that, great choice. Just try to avoid going with the cheapest type of charcoal when it comes to briquettes, especially. The reason being, when you're going with a really low cost briquette, it's going to have things like fillers, and that can it can mess with the flavor profile depending on what you're doing, especially if you're doing something low and slow. Then we have things like lump charcoal, and that's going to light quicker, right? It burns hotter. It has a higher heat point than briquettes. So this is something that can help really get with some of those awesome sears if you're cooking steaks. It's still made from wood. It's just there's no additives, and it's just going to enhance that wood smoke flavor, make it a little hotter to burn, so you get those awesome sear marks if you want. And then last but not least, there's also hardwood. Now, hardwood is great for smoking. You look at some of the top chefs, some of the top grill masters, they're using hardwood, and they're doing long smokes, especially for brisket. Great flavor profile, a little bit different kind of learning curve to make sure that you're maintaining and feeding that hardwood so that it burns nice and long. But man, the flavor is great, and there are different types. Just a pro tip here: when you're looking at woods, all right, especially if you've got like a backyard fire pit or something like that, just know that you shouldn't use any type of wood to cook with. All right, if you look at the packaging, even with like pellets, you'll see different flavor profiles: cherry, apple. There's mesquite. There's hickory. These are specifically designed to cook with versus going just any type of wood. All right, I can tell you, here's a never use scrap wood, like pressure treated wood, to cook anything that you're going to eat, because that can impact and compromise the food that you're eating. So it's just not a safe way to go about any type of cook. So use woods that are specifically designed and they have the flavor profile for what you're trying to do to keep yourself safe. All right, let's talk about gas grills now. Long, traditional, really effective means. They're great options for most homes, especially if you're looking at like an outdoor fire kitchen for your grilling needs. And the source of gas can be either natural gas, or it can get tied into your home if you have natural gas available, or you can have it tied into propane. So a little versatility here, depending if you're a big fan of this. And because these are great, they're effective, they can do indirect and direct heat. It just depends on placement and how you're adjusting the heat source. Just start thinking about the heat dispersal system. All right, gas grills, they have kind of different ways that they heat up materials. So you might have a gas grill that uses lava rocks to get hot and disperse that heat. You might have a gas grill that uses ceramic bricks. You might have gas grills that have these metal tents underneath the grill grates, again, to disperse that heat. So this is all, they're all differences, and they have different benefits. A lot of it's tied to how you're going to clean and maintain that. But again, just being aware of that. Gas grills will also have multiple burners. You see on this image, this is a 5 burner with a 6 offset gas grill burner as well. So this is going to be dictated by that initial question of how many people, how large of a group are you cooking for, and what are you looking to cook? This might be overkill for some folks, and this might not be enough for others. Just depends on what you're really kind of intending to do. So look at that. And then you can start looking at additional considerations because gas grills can have more features built in. from different grill inserts, rotisseries. Overall, grills will have some type of thermometer systems. And now we're starting to see more smart integration. So I'll tell you, if you're a big smart home person, maybe you've been to our smart home workshop, look at maybe getting a smart feature Wi-Fi integrated gas grills or any grill so that you can remotely adjust the temperature, remotely monitor the temperature as well. All right, a lot of benefits. Side note, because we are dealing with gas, this is something that you want to be very careful. So some safety tips when you're dealing with gas, it's just making sure that you're inspecting that connection to whatever the gas source is, but also making sure that you're looking at the tank's integrity. So if you've got a propane tank, you got to make sure that you are just cognizant of that and making sure that it doesn't impact, the safety. All right, really, really careful with this. Also, the grills, make sure that it's away from anything that could be combustible. So anything that's wood, kind of keep it further away from your home as well to be extra safe. Checking valves, making sure that you never store a propane tank indoors. All right, if you have propane tanks, it's being stored outside, it's standing up. Try to protect it from the elements as well too, so it's not getting rained on. That'll lead to rusting. But do not store a gas source inside, because gas, if it leaks, again, that can cause other issues. So just be aware, be cognizant. With most gas grills, since they're running typically on propane, that gives you a lot of versatility. But if you're looking at building out an outdoor kitchen setup, think about getting a line tied into your gas grill from a natural gas source. That could be a great way to make it sustainable and just something to look at. The beautiful part is, while gas grills can be really expensive, propane tanks is typically it's not a really high cost to get that tank and get it refilled. You could do it at your local Home Depot. So it's something that's easy to use and it's refillable. So this is something that could be a great kind of value proposition, if you will. All right, Robin, I know we didn't talk about too much, but I just want to take a brief pause here and see if there's any questions or anything you want me to highlight before we go into the nitty gritty of specific grills. Spoiler alert, yep, love my pellet smoker, but I'm going to take a pause there and see what we got.
All right. So, quickly, just a couple of quick things that came in, because I know you are definitely a pellet smoker kind of person. I always used to be a gas grill kind of person, have since come over to the joys of charcoal. You mentioned a little bit about like maintenance on a gas grill, making sure nothing's leaking, checking your valves, keeping it protected. And then you also mentioned that ash in a charcoal, how you need to get it out timely. Why is that? Why is it so important to like clean out that ash in a charcoal, other than just the fact that you don't want ash all over everything?
Yeah, and it's a great kind of segue, because we'll go into the cleaning and maintenance part towards the end. But overall, when you look at charcoal, the amount of buildup that creates, there's other things that can occur if it's left there. So think of this: if you're in an area that's a lot of humidity, you got a pile of ash building up in the bottom of that charcoal grill, then you're leading to things that could maybe rusting or even mold. Overall, it kind of adds to your cleaning process on the back end, but it can also start to compromise the integrity of that grill. So it's the best practice. Look, you don't have to do it every single time, but my recommendations are going to be, when you purchase any grill, look through the specific maintenance instructions. It'll tell you the cadence to do things. That's going to help give you some really great insight so that you get the value and that longevity of that grill. Because if not only is it going to affect charcoal grills, it's any type of grill. If you're not upkeeping it correctly, you may start getting things that could start to go wrong. So a gas grill, the heating element might get compromised if it's not being cleaned properly, it's not being protected properly. Same thing with a pellet smoker. If it's not being cleaned right, if it's not being protected, then you might have to buy that part, replace it, do it yourself. And you could do it yourself, but it costs time, it costs money. And sometimes it's a point where, well, that big investment you made on whatever grill might be better off to just replace it altogether. So just understand how to maintain whatever grill you go with. Great question, Robin.
Yeah, and that's a great point. It's like that ash, if it mixes with any type of moisture, rainwater, just humidity, whatever, actually wood ash or charcoal ash, because like Antonio said, charcoal is really just wood, and water actually mix to make lye, which is a heavily basic substance and will actually eventually eat out the metal in the bottom of your grill. And some of these grills can be quite expensive, which I think is a great segue into start going into the types of grills so we can see what we have at all price points. What do you think, Antonio?
I think it's great. I mean, you're speaking the truth right there. See what I did there? You said lie, so truth. Blah blah blah. Y'all don't hold me against. Don't hold that against me, please. Robin, I appreciate you. Great point to highlight. And let's keep it going, folks. Because look, when you think about grilling, I can't tell you. Like growing up, I would watch food channels all the time, and I was always excited. I was like, man, I just can't wait to have my own grill set up. And smokers are like one of the first things that always comes to mind when I'm barbecuing or when I'm thinking of barbecue. The reason being is you get that great smoke flavor, and you think of low and slow synonymous with smokers. So this is great because it gives indirect heat with smoke, really, really penetrates and gives that outstanding flavor, like the brisket that I just cooked. I can't wait to cut into it. And there's a lot of different configurations. So you've got smokers that are going to be water smokers, vertical smokers. You even have gas smokers. Regardless of what route you're going, the results are going to be great because it's infusing that flavor. Now, because it's cooking foods at lower temperatures over longer period of times, just make sure that you're always keeping an eye on it. Right? Don't just set it and forget it. Try to monitor it. This is where that smart integration is really helpful because you can monitor temperatures in case if it's fluctuating a lot, and then that gives you some insight as to how to adjust it if you need to. All right. Some of these vertical smokers, they can be fueled from charcoal, from gas. They can be electrical. They can use chips, chunks of woods, a lot of different sources. I'll get into pellets when I talk about my pellet smoker. Voila. As you see a bag of pellets right back there. But again, it's just a lot of great benefits. But this is something that becomes a skill and it takes time. So maybe if you're looking for something quicker, this might not be the route to go with, at least as your primary grill. Kamado grills. These, you see them, if you ever ate anything off a Kamado grill, you know they provide such a great result with almost anything that's being cooked on it. Here's the backstory. Kamado grills are actually really, they date back to ages ago, right? And the benefit of these is that they can really get high in terms of that heat index. So they have thick walls, they're heat resistant, and they're really great at locking in that smoke, locking in that moisture at any temperature. So this gives you kind of that great capability of doing something low and slow for a long period of time, but it also gives you the capability of searing meats. Again, if you're a steak fan, you can get this thing burning hot and you can sear that steak, whatever you're trying to sear, get some great grill marks and really great flavor. This is going to be a great avenue to look at because it even gives you the capability of baking pizzas, baking breads if you want to, right? They have a lot of benefits. If you're looking at these, one, just keep in mind they're heavy. They are heavy. All right, I'll talk about that and a little bit of something that can help with transporting this, but they are heavy, right? And they could be a little more expensive as well too. So this is a good avenue to look at. A lot of benefits here. They do have an easier way to remove the ash typically, so this makes it a little easier to clean. We talked about the things that can happen if you don't clean out that ash, so this helps kind of address that. But you'll notice the design of it too. You're going to think about what additional accessories or space do I need for prep and for, the post cook part too, right? Because they're not as large, not as much room in these typically. Wood pellet grills. Yep. This is the part where I'm going to tell you that I'm biased. I'm a fan of it just because it really creates a consistent, convenient method of cooking with a lot of versatility. Now, the point is here that comes at some trade-off. So love pellet smokers. and gives you kind of the benefits of gas and charcoal, and it uses pellets. All right. If you've never seen these, I'll just show you. These are what the pellets look like. All right. All that is essentially it's compacted or it's compressed wood. So again, we're still using that same fuel source of wood like charcoal, just in a different form. The pellet smoker uses different mechanics to feed these pellets via a hopper, and it transports it to whatever the heating element is with your pellet smokers that you get. Burns it, it creates that flame, that fire, and that smoke. And so this is the reason why you get the best of both worlds in a sense. But there's some maintenance importance here. All right. So you got to make sure that you're properly following the instructions for whatever pellet smoker you get. You got to prime it, make sure that hopper is doing its job, it's feeding it. Once you get it going, now you can start getting ready for your cooking meat. So, for example, brisket. Brisket is one of my favorite meats. And I have now replicated smoking brisket almost better than a lot of the places that I've loved eating brisket. I'm doing it at the convenience of my home and my own pellet smoker because I'm priming it. I'm getting that pellet smoker primed. Takes about 10 minutes. Once I get it ready, boom, I prep my brisket. I cut it, trim it, low and slow, set it and forget it. And then there's some additional things that I'm doing. I actually do the Texas crutch, which is using butcher paper to wrap the brisket. Once it gets about 165, 170 degrees, I pop it back into the smoker, finish it off. So it takes total about 10 to 12 hours. And I actually have it sitting in a cooler right now because that just helps lock in the flavors and moisture. All right. I'm going to show you all that at the end if I have time. But I'm sharing this because pellet smokers can get some really awesome results. And it's a little easier learning curve than something like charcoal. Charcoal, you got to make sure that you are really taking the time to burn that fuel source to get it prepped and then create those zones. And so for me, I find pellet smokers being really DIY friendly to get some really impressive results. And it has that incredible smoke flavor. Now, if you're looking at pellet smokers, just think about those additional features I mentioned before. You may want something like Wi-Fi integration so you can monitor the temperature remotely. Right? You can adjust the temperature. There's different price points and different features based on the size of that pellet smoker, but also what can you do in terms of temperature radiation, right? Some of these pellet smokers may not be able to get so specific to, like, let's say if you want to cook something at 230 degrees, right? Some might be limited at just being at less intervals. So my pellet smoker only goes 225, 250, 275, right? It only goes in 25 degree increments. Other higher price points gives you a little more flexibility and versatility with that as well. But big fan of pellet smokers. Great option. One of the things that I do is I clean it out about every 3 to 5 cooks with a shop vac. So I'm cleaning out the ash so that it doesn't build up and block the hopper that feeds the fire pot. All right, another great option to look at too, flat top grills. This is probably going to be on the list of something to get later down the road because big fan of hibachi, and this allows you to bring the benefits of hibachi at home. Great for large groups. Right? It doesn't cost too much, and this can get you a lot of versatility in terms of cooking for large groups quickly. So if you're big into breakfast, think about the possibilities of just being able to crank out some awesome breakfast meals for large groups. One of the things that's really great about this is that they're a little easier to clean. They're easier to clean, but I'm going to give a little asterisk there because you got to be careful. If you've ever been to hibachi or you're familiar, when you're cleaning this right when you're done, so you got to make sure it's still hot and you're using like a steam towel with some type of extended handle so that you're giving yourself separation. Because the moment that you clean this with that scraper or that towel that's wet, it steams up a lot. So you got to make sure that you're not in the presence or in the area where that steam is going to shoot up, all right? That can burn you, so just be careful if you go with this style of a flat top grill, because when you're cleaning it, that's when something can happen that you want to be safe and sound with. So great option to look at for large groups, but the cleaning process, it's easy, just be careful because of that steam. That steam can be really unforgiving. Electric grills here. Now, this is something that can be integrated with like a pellet smoker. You plug it in. It's an electric uh, powered grill. But what I want to focus on this is if you're looking at something for portability, something like an electric grill might be a great option. Or if you're looking at something that serves well in a smaller space, this might be an option as well. So this is going to give you still great utility. If you like to go camping, you don't want to go with the fuss and muss of gas, whatever it is, and you have some type of portable power source, you got an electric grill, and you can do some great things with it as well. So it's something that is a good option if you want something portable and really kind of just limits the other things that you might need in terms of fuel sources. Electric grill is a good option to look at. And this is kind of overall that point I spoke to earlier. When we were talking about gas grills versus charcoal grills. Outdoor kitchens is a great way to really just enhance your outdoor space, depending on a lot of different things. Now, if you get a chance, check out our workshops of curb appeal projects, check out our outdoor living projects. We go a little deeper into that specific workshop with this specifically, but you can actually create a great outdoor kitchen space. And 9 times out of 10, people are using gas grills. It's just a more intuitive setup. And you can have a second kitchen that works really well. Just think about what you're going to need in addition to make that happen. You can take this on as a DIY. There's actually some really cost-effective ways if you use concrete. It just takes a lot of time, a lot of research, but something that is worth exploring if you're going to do a lot of cooking outdoors and you're a big fan of barbecuing. All right, Robin, I'm going to take a time out here because I see some questions coming in and you're doing a great job of keeping up with it. But is there anything that we should maybe highlight or share? What you got?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things that I think, we should both highlight and just go over again. So Stephanie had a great question about how far should that gas grill be away from your home? It's like we're putting these grills out. You say you don't want them close. What should that distance be for safe grilling?
Yeah, make sure you read the manufacturer instructions. It'll tell you that minimum requirement, but typically I know for my grill, it's got to be, I think it's recommended about 8 to 10 feet away. That's just for my grill specifically. So just whatever grill you purchase, just read the instructions. It'll tell you what's the recommended distance. The rule of thumb is just trying to be proactive at anything that could potentially combust. You want to limit exposure to those type of materials just to keep yourself safe. Generally speaking, anytime you're grilling too, you want to be monitoring that grill. So don't leave it unattended, like, just how we say in fire safety with not leaving a candle lit and not watching it. Always just keep an eye on that grill. Even if it's a smoker, even if it's something low and slow, it's taking a long time, you want to have a visual on that just for whatever reason. A flare-up could happen, and it's happened to me. I've had a flare-up with my pellet smoker. When I opened up, I looked at the roasted lamb. Well, the roasted lamb was literally roasting. It was like just burning in flames. I was like, wow. Fortunately, it still tasted good. But had I not checked on it, that could have, it could have caused some other issues. So just be aware of that. But great question, and hopefully that gives you a little more peace of mind with that.
Yeah, definitely that, manufacturer's instructions and most times if you check with municipalities and fire codes and all that stuff, it can be anywhere from 3 feet to 10 feet. So just read what your specific one is. Patty wants to know, hey, for gas grills, where should I store that gas tank when I'm not using it in the winter? Where is the best place to put that? Because you said don't bring it inside. And that includes the garage, right?
Yeah, I would recommend if you have an area like a shed, something that is just, again, it's not enclosed in the home, because the thing is, the reason why we say don't have it stored indoors, any part that's connected to your home. So even if you had it in the garage, well, that's still connected to your home. If it's a connected garage, if it's a separate garage, hey, you have a little more peace of mind, but just be aware. What happens with gas? Gas, this doesn't matter what container it is. Gas is always releasing even microscopic fumes. It could be very, very tiny, which isn't as hazardous. But if there's a more pronounced leak, well, that could cause a carbon monoxide exposure. And so indoor space, carbon monoxide exposure, that's where we start saying, hey, well, we got to be careful. Just think about an outdoor space, whether it's a shed or something that's not attached to your home, and then try to make sure that it's protected from the elements so it's not getting rained on, because then that'll accelerate the rusting of that. So outdoor space, rule of thumb, not connected to your home and protected from the elements. Hopefully that gives you some additional insight on some areas where you can store that to be safe and sound.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that freezing temperatures do not affect propane or the tanks. So it's totally fine to leave them outside. Maybe just put a tarp over them to keep them out of the elements. But freezing, or even if you have a grill cover, if you leave your grill outside and leave it covered and it's one of those long ones, that's totally acceptable. The temperatures will not affect your propane tank at all. So they can be left outside. I got one more quick question before you move on, and then I'll pick up the rest. Wanda really wants to know, hey, can I put like regular wood into a pellet stove? I'll pick up the rest and you move on from there.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. So the fuel source is going to be depending. So pellet smokers are designed to be fed with pellet chips. So this is what has to go in to your pellet smoker. All right. If it's a pellet smoker, you got to use these. You can't just use any type of wood because it can block the hopper system and it can clog it and block it. So then you're dealing with other issues that could actually damage the pellet smoker. So this is, again, we'll reiterate, you always follow whatever the manufacturer's instructions are. There are combination grills out there. So I'll say we didn't cover that, but there are combination grills where you can get a gas charcoal combo. You can get a pellet smoker gas combo, different combinations so you get the best of both worlds, but it starts to increase the cost of that grill, and it makes it a little more complex on how to maintain it. Great choices, great avenue to look at, but just make sure that you are not just kind of saying, hey, you know what, it's all wood. Because if you go that route, well, you can start damaging other things, and then you have to repair it, or then you're going to write us an email and blame Antonio, and I don't want that. So hopefully that gives some peace of mind on that. All right, y'all. So let's keep moving on. This was actually a good segue. That previous question that came up about how to store that propane tank, how to protect it from the elements. And this is actually going to be under the umbrella of grill accessories. There's a lot of different things here that are going to help with maintenance as well as cooking. So you see a picture here on the PowerPoint slide of a gas grill cover. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to want you to get a grill that includes this as part of the purchase. If for whatever reason it's damaged or didn't come with one, go ahead and just purchase one. You can actually get a universal type of gas grill or grill cover in general, and you want to protect it. This is a best practice. Cover it from the elements. That's going to protect it. If you have a gas tank, a propane tank there, it's going to protect it from the elements. It's going to protect the grill overall from the elements as well. So grill cover, absolutely. You might even want to think about getting some type of covering for the floor. All right, if you have your grill on a deck, this can help protect the deck. So think about getting a cover on the floor as well. Temperature. I'm big on temperature. Anytime I'm cooking, I know some people are like, "Oh, don't stab the meat because then it's gonna lose juices." That's just part of me. I want to make sure that I'm as accurate as possible. So get a few different types of temperature gauges. Get one that's really compact so that you can stab it and get a digital readout. There is also probe temperature probes that will connect to your grill. So for my pellet smoker, I can tap into it and it'll read out the temperature reading wherever I place that probe. FYI, any type of meat that you're cooking, make sure that you are not probing in any of the fatty areas. Fat has a higher heat point. It gets hotter quicker. So it might give you a false reading. For those of you, if you ever cooked and you're like, why is this so high? Well, check where where you probed it. It might be giving you a false reading if it's in that. I'm actually a big fan of this too. I mentioned smart integration. So if you're looking at a grill and it doesn't have a Wi-Fi feature integrated, here's another option you can get. So I purchased a Meter Plus. All right, this is the brand. All right, they make this smart wireless temperature probe. So I can insert it past, there's a little ridge here. Once I go past that ridge, it actually allows me to get a more accurate readout. And then I can use my smartphone with the downloaded app, and I can monitor my cooks remotely for whatever I'm doing. So that's actually what I use when I'm doing something like a brisket smoke, low and slow. I get to check it out on my app and see if it's ready to pull it out, wrap it in butcher paper, whatever it is. So great tool. Just get temperature probes. Anyway, I'm a big fan of the smart ones because they give you that mobility. And then light as well. If you're cooking at night, like I did, sometimes it's a little harder to see. So I actually use a headlamp. That just helps me free up my hands, and it gives me that direct light to look at whatever I'm cooking if I'm doing a long, low and slow cook. So headlamp is like my little personal tip that I like to share. Some other accessories that you might want to get or look into, or it's going to be depending on what you're looking to cook. So if it's something like baking pizza, grilling veggies during a rotisserie, there's an option out there for almost anything and everything that you can think of. That's where you'll start seeing what's available, right? So when you're buying that grill, think of what grill options or what grill accessories there are available that will attach to it. And then a couple more things. Here, I'm going to start off with safety. So just make sure that you're protecting yourself. Or the last thing you want to do is burn yourself. So any type of covering that's going to be extending long on your arm just gives you additional protection. So I like to use longer oven mitts for my grill. Think of getting maybe silicone mitts, whatever it is, get some type of heat protection that extends far just to give you additional safety there too. If you're getting things like a hibachi, just look at those tools that make the cook easier. So you can get a flat top or hibachi tool set that has everything you will need for that. I'm actually a big fan of getting a dedicated grill kit that has almost everything that you can need from almost anything. So this is a kit that I purchased. I mean, this is probably like 7 years ago I got this. And it has everything from a large cutting knife that also serves as a spatula. I've got my long tongs. I've got a knife. I've got a fork. I've got scissors. I've got even metal skewers. And so all of this I keep it in my kit here. So anytime I'm working on my grill, this is just for my grill. I'm not using it for anything else. And it just makes it a lot easier. I did a roasted leg of lamb. I took out the netting and I used my metal skewers to keep it all intact. Bada bing, bada boom. I got my roasted lamb. Smoked low and slow, beautiful, delicious. I love it. What you'll notice is what's important is your grill accessory, your grill tools need to have a long handle. That just gives you, again, that safety so that you're not getting burnt, not getting hurt. So whatever route you go, make sure that you get items that have a long handle. That's why you look at any grill accessory, it has a long handle. That's just to keep you safe. I'll make a mention here. This is just a good thing to know. At the Home Depot, we have a truck and van rental service. So if you do end up buying maybe a gas charcoal grill combination or any grill that might be really large, this might be something that could be helpful just to transport that item if you're not getting delivered or whatever it may be. This is just an option we like to share out there. Really helpful. And maybe you didn't know, but we've got this available. All right, we're going to talk about cleaning grills. And what I want to do is, in our resource guide, we have a few links on how to clean a grill. So I'm going to share a video that kind of just shows how to clean a gas grill. This is going to highlight some different features and elements. I like to play this just because it gives some good context. You're always going to want to monitor or read your instruction manual because depending on the material of your grill and the grill grates will dictate how to clean those materials. All right. And I'll show you a couple things that I use to give you some additional context there. So let me go ahead and get this screen share here. And hold on 1 second. All right, y'all. And this is available on homedepot.com. If you look up how to clean a grill, you see we have a ton of videos. So I'm going to go ahead and
Everyone loves grilling out, whether it's with your family or a large gathering of friends. To keep your gas grill in top cooking condition, you should thoroughly clean it at the beginning of each grilling season. Regular cleanings will help extend the life of your grill parts. Begin by preheating the grill for 15 minutes on high heat. This will loosen any leftover food and grease and make it easier to remove. Turn the gas off using the valve on either the propane tank or gas line and clean the grates using a stiff wire brush dipped in water. Cleaning the grate with a wet brush gives you the added benefit of creating steam in the process of cleaning. Adding some dish soap to the water can help dissolve grease. Another option is to use a specially formulated grill cleaner. It will leave a clinging foam which will quickly penetrate baked-on grease, food, and carbon deposits. When you're done and the grate is cooled, wipe the grate with a damp cloth to remove any residue or bristles. The grates should be cleaned while still warm after each grill use to remove stuck-on food. Once clean, lightly coat the grates with a spray cooking oil or vegetable oil poured onto a folded paper towel. This will reduce the amount of stuck-on food the next time you cook out. Next, remove the heat deflectors located over the burners. The heat deflectors can be cleaned with dish soap and water and dried with a towel. This will reduce future flare-ups. Next up, remove the burners themselves. Over time, rust, food, and debris can cause a blockage to some of the burner's gas ports, causing weak or uneven burning. Remove any blockages using a stiff wire brush. When cleaning the ports, it's best to brush across the ports. Brushing lengthwise may push more debris into the burner holes. Clean the burner valve with soapy water and be sure to run water through the inside of the valve to remove any debris. While the cookbox is empty, clean it using a brush and warm soapy water, then move on to the underside of the lid. It's best to remove the propane tank below and place a bucket under the cookbox to catch the dirty water. Then just rinse with a garden hose. Towel dry the burners and reinstall them. When washing the outside of a stainless steel grill, use a specially formulated stainless steel cleaner. Use a microfiber cloth and clean the outside of the grill with the grain of the stainless steel for best results. Ceramic, porcelain, and painted steel surfaces can be cleaned using soap and water. Covering your grill between uses will help keep it clean and extend its life. If you're storing the grill outdoors, you can keep the propane tank attached. If storing indoors, always remove the propane tank and keep it outside, away from direct sunlight. If any grill parts eventually do fail, there are replacement parts available at your nearby Home Depot store or online at homedepot.com/grills.
just context there, just showing you kind of high level, some things to look for when you're cleaning your grill. That was specific to a gas grill, but there's some key takeaways there. You saw about storage, about cleaning the outside as well, and the different elements. So it's just good to kind of check all of that, because trust me, it will prevent some issues you might have down the road if you're aware of that, beforehand. All right, so let's show a couple items here. There's a couple tools that you might want to get. Some type of cleaning brush with a scraping grate, great steel bristles, different configurations. Just make sure that you are cleaning these. It's even recommended to kind of throw these out annually if you're using them. They don't cost a lot. I am a big fan of this one. So this is a stone, it's earthstone cleaning block, and it's a more environmentally safe option. So it kind of it recycles stone elements, limestone and some other stuff. And what you'll see is when I'm cleaning my grates, this actually forms to the grates and it cleans it up. So this is a nice quick clean way to get that gunk off. And then I'm going after it with a wet rag and just wiping off any debris that might have. Really big fan of that. You can get dedicated cleaners, things like that. Citrus Safe barbecue grill cleaner spray is a great option to look at. And you can even do things like using an onion or a lemon with kosher salt to help clean your grill grates too. So a lot of different ways, a lot of different tools to use so that you can get those effective results. Now, again, we talked about charcoal, remove that ash. Cleaning the grates is great for any grill grate you have. Just think of the material you have. So it can be either cast iron, it could be stainless steel, it could be just plain steel, it could be porcelain coated. Let's just be aware of that. You want to minimize, and probably I wouldn't recommend using these in a dishwasher. Sometimes the high heat of a dishwasher can erode any type of coating. It can cause rusting, things like cast iron. You don't want to get that immersed and left wet because it'll rust over time. Then you got to go through a whole process to get that removed. So just a couple tips here to share. Again, you're going to always make sure that you're looking at the manufacturer's instructions. It'll talk you through the cadence of what to do and when to do it. But look at what do you need to do right now at the start of this grilling season that we're approaching, so that you're cleaning whatever grill you have currently. Or if you're getting a brand new one, well then, what are things to kind of be aware of? Pellet smoker, like I said, I use a shop vac. If y'all don't have a shop vac and you go with that route, highly recommend getting a shop vac. If you're going to get a pellet smoker especially, it'll help with that and some other projects as well. All right, time has come, the final Q&A, Robin. Let me know what should we cover, and I think we have enough time to do a reveal on my brisket. So talk to me, Robin. What you got?
All right. So we've talked about a lot of different kinds of grills today, types and fuels and all these other things. Could we just give a quick primer on what's the best grill for a beginner?
Keep it simple. If you want to just test out the waters, get something really cheap, like a basic charcoal grill. Robin has one actually in the background of her set right there. Robin, you want to show that off really when you get a chance? That's go cheap. Go cheap with something like that, just so you can test out and see how you like that. As much as I want to say go with a pellet smoker, that's going to cost a few $100s. And then if you don't like it for whatever reason, then you make this big investment and it's going to put a bad taste in your mouth. So go with something really simple, test it out and see how you can go from there. It's really doable. Anybody can learn it, but starting off like that sets you up for success.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think really when you're trying to select your first grill, it's a matter of what's most important to you, right? So you can say this is the small kettle grill that Antonio was talking about. This is a small charcoal grill, right? Will definitely, do what you need to do. It's relatively inexpensive. This you can burn with charcoal. If you're looking for something that is ease of use, probably a small gas grill to start. Works a lot like your stove or oven at home. You can you can control the temperature relatively easily. It's easy to turn on. It's easy to turn off. You don't have to mess with charcoal. So if ease of use is what's most important to you, then I would probably suggest a small gas grill to start with. If you really like the idea of cooking with charcoal, a small charcoal grill, definitely a good choice. And if you like the idea of cooking with wood and you're planning on doing a lot more low and slow, pellet smoker is great, but like Antonio said, a lot more expensive in the long run. So really you have to evaluate what's most important to you, but start small. And I know a lot of people, my husband included, my husband has a Kamado grill, one of those ceramic Kamado grills. He loves it. He has been through every iteration of gas grill. He has tried, regular gas grills, regular charcoal grills, and now he is at the ceramic Kamado grill, and he will never go back again. It's his absolute favorite, but that took a couple of years of evolution to get to that point. All right. So great questions. If you guys have any more questions, come on, bring them in, and we're going to let Antonio reveal his gorgeous
I'm,
brisket
I'm,
there. Go ahead,
I'm
Antonio.
crying with happiness right now. And I don't know if this is kosher me licking my fingers, but it's delicious. Sorry, y'all. This is great. I'm not taking these gloves off. Let me show you. Let me show you this brisket I smoked on a pellet smoker for about 11 hours. All right, I'm going to tell you right now. If you could smell and taste this, you would be in heaven. At least I am. This is all done on my pellet smoker using some of the things that I showed y'all. Trust me, if I cut into this, you would see beautiful smoke rings. It's got a nice even wiggle to it. Look at that. Look at that thing. When it wiggles like that, that means it's a good, juicy cut of meat, y'all. I'm getting ready to dive into that, share with my girlfriend, and we're going to dine in and enjoy that meat. Y'all, I hope y'all had a good time. I hope it's making your mouth water, because it is for me. And the key thing here is we were walking through just considerations, things about how to get the best options for you and how to make sure that you protect that investment, keeping yourself safe. So regardless of what grill you go with, whatever fuel type, and any accessories, all the tools, and knowing how to clean it, just keep yourself safe so you can enjoy cooking with your family, your friends. That's what it's all about. It's feeding your soul, feeding your stomach. And I hope that we fed y'all just a little more confidence and tips to go about this the best way that works for y'all. Look, it's a pleasure doing these workshops. And Robin, I want to give you a sincere thank you. Muchísimas gracias. You're always a great partner to work with. But folks, this is truly an honor. All the questions you asked, hopefully we gave you some good insight. Reach out to our inbox, workshopslive@homedepot.com if you got more questions. But we truly appreciate this opportunity to support you as fellow homeowners. So 2 simple words from myself, Robin, and the whole team here at the Home Depot. Thank you. Muchísimas gracias. And folks, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, all.